just tell you that Theresa May has, we're hearing, been given full support by her cabinet for the Chequers plan after Brexit. It's been widely criticised. It was ruled out at the Salzburg dinner last week by fellow EU leaders. Well, there are other plans being fleshed out, and one of them right now is being delivered by the Institute for Economic Affairs. It's a free market think tank, and David Davis is speaking at the launch in central London. So let's listen to what the suggestion is there.
Champion of free trade underestimated some of its free trade arrangements, the effect of it, by 500%. 500%. And I expect us to see equally large impacts when we actually get into the free trade deals that we ought to. What this means is, as Gisela said, is we need to reset the negotiations. We're currently, bluntly, in a cul-de-sac. I'm afraid, I slightly disagree with Gisela. I think Salzburg was unfortunately all too predictable. She may be right about timing, but I'm afraid it was all too predictable how it would turn out either here or in October. Now, what we need to do is to use the original commitments made back on March the 7th, I think by both Tusk and Barnier, to go for an advanced free trade agreement. And the reason that this is called Plan A+, is what we need is an FTA plus, a free trade agreement plus. And to do that, we need, and again the report goes into this in some detail, to do that we need to use our allies. As Shanker said, the rest of the world does not see European negotiation as a gold standard. Just the opposite. They see it as an outlier. They see it as anti-competitive. They see it as protectionist. Incidentally, one of the reasons that many big companies like European negotiation is precisely because it is protectionist. There's a tremendous case study in here of the REACH, the chemical standards, and how that works, and really how even the Commission recognise that it's ineffective and bad. Now, I don't agree with every word of what Shanker's written. It would be very surprising in 130-odd pages that two different people would agree the same. But I agree with 90-odd% of it. It's probably true to say that if this had been the white paper, I'd still be in government today. So we need to take a model like this. We need to grasp the Brexit prize, and we need to act properly for the enormous benefits that are to be had from a proper free trade policy. Thank you.
David, many thanks. Jacob, can I ask you to take to the stage?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is gloriously appropriate that we are talking about free trade in the Gladstone Library, because Gladstone got rid of more tariffs in his budgets than any other Chancellor of the Exchequer in history. And he took over 4.5 hours to do so, which you'll be glad to know I'm not going to do. The great virtue of this plan is that it is deliverable. It is based on precedents and extending what is already done, and it works towards a Brexit prize. Keep that phrase in your minds, because so much of what we have about these negotiations has been about managing decline, has been about how do you have the least bad Brexit. This is about how you have a fantastic Brexit that sets us up for the next generation and ensures our prosperity. So it's a really exciting and good paper looking at Britain's position not just in the European context, but globally. And the key to it, to my mind, is that it is deliverable. Bear in mind, as David says, this has been offered to us by the Commission. They have offered us the best trade deal they have done with any country ever in the world. So if you want to call it Canada Plus or Super Canada or Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious Canada, that is what is being aimed at, and it's being offered, as long as you can solve the Northern Ireland question, which I think the ERG did a week or so ago. So you've got Northern Ireland solved, you've got a free trade deal, you've got something that is deliverable. And then the question is, will it work within the country at large? Well, we know that Chequers won't. And we know that there is nervousness about leaving purely on world trade terms. So if people are focusing on what the real options are after the EU has comprehensively snubbed the Prime Minister and the country, then the real option that faces the nation is, do we have a free trade deal or do we leave on world trade terms? And I think that reality, that consciousness, will ensure that if this got to the House of Commons, it would be passed. So it's not just deliverable in terms of the European Union, it's deliverable in terms of British public opinion, and it's deliverable in terms of parliamentary votes. I think this paper is therefore the most exciting contribution we have had to this debate in many months. Thank you.
Jacob Rees Mogg, speaking at the Institute for Economic Affairs, the free market think tank, and he was preceded there by David Davis, the previous Brexit secretary turned outsider, who was throwing his weight behind the plan that is being outlined there. Teresa Villiers just about to speak, but we'll bring you some of what she says maybe a little bit later. But she's there because of the issue around the Irish border.